Ooh, welcome back, Dota 2 fans. I am Maurice Peace, your resident Canadian Dota 2 caster, joined by Mikaloris. Game 1 taken by LC in this best of 3 for the GG League Season 2 round of 16. I think we spoke early in the draft about DD having quite a few ways to deal with both that Timbersaw and that Brewmaster. Mikaloris, do you think they should go for a different strategy here, or do you think it was just a matter of execution how they lost Game 1?
I think it was 100% execution. They had, I think most people would agree, a better team comp. It was more well-rounded, it had answers, it had tanky heroes, it had disengage, it had pretty much everything. But every single time they tried to go for a split push in order to delay the push, they end up losing someone. And it wasn't just some rando support either. It was someone important that they really needed to keep alive. So that split pushing kind of rat-ish style of DD last game was very poorly done, and London Conspiracy, they abused that time and time again just to get further ahead before it eventually all accumulated into that one final push down the bottom lane. If DD get a similar draft and play it differently, then they'll be fantastic, but that's just really easy to say, very hard to do. So I think it'll probably be better for them to go for a different draft entirely to kind of force themselves into a different style of play.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with you there. It felt as if in the draft we thought that there was a clock on the lineup on LC, but they didn't feel pressured at all in the game. Felt like things were more often handed to them, and that was the cue for them to begin pushing rather than them feeling rushed, even towards going towards the Roshan pit a few times with DD caught out of position on the map. We're able to pick up fairly free Roches and favorable trades throughout the game. But nevertheless, game 2 gonna begin. Ogre Magi gonna be the first pickup here for DD. Response from LC, they're gonna pick up the Viper and the Death Prophet. So the frontliner in the Viper, very tanky of course with that corrosive skin, and they will have the push power of the Death Prophet once again for game 2. So they have quite a bit of push here, obviously a good frontliner as well. And DD letting the DP slip through the first ban phase. They'll actually choose to ban out the Lycan on the Dire side. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, although Lycan Dire is where you want to be picking up Lycan, just as a hero, now how he functions, he's decent on either side. So yeah. I think it is certainly a worthy ban, especially since you saw London Conspiracy's propensity for pushing in the last game. But, I mean, I don't think side really factors that much into it. Regardless, they are still going to ban out two quote-unquote pushing heroes in the Enigma and the Lycan, but, man, Death Prophet can be let through, and your towers are not going to last long versus her. And now DD, they either have to pick a Jakiro or ban a Jakiro, else they're just outright going to lose the push, and there's not much they can do about it.
Yeah, and I'm sure LC are aware of that fact, so already perhaps planning their draft around the Jakiro ban here. They do have quite a bit of flexibility, but you will expect 2 cores here, of course, from the Death Prophet as well as the Viper. We'll see what the response is from DD. Razor and the Brewmaster been banned out, and they'll actually go for the Puck here, so does pretty well in the mid lane with the ability to dodge the Crypt Swarm with the phase shift. Obviously has a very good right click early on for that Puck, so should be able to farm up well in the mid lane, but this isn't going to mitigate the amount of farm that the Death Prophet gets at all. And in that sense, I do worry a bit, but there is some crowd control there. Obviously very good for this versus the Death Prophet with the Dream Coil, of course the Waning Rift as well, and they do have the multicast, so hopefully for their sake they are able to burst down this TP early and often.
Yeah, and when you are talking about the mid game, when London Conspiracy are going to be looking to make pushes happen, you really want to get the initiation on your side all the time, and it's because of that I wouldn't even mind seeing DD pick up someone like a Batrider just to always have control over when and where they initiate. It is hard to initiate just as a Puck versus a Death Prophet. You will Scepter going to cancel out the silence and most of your damage potential, and then eventually BKB is going to mean that your coil is going to be doing jack. So the Puck is going to need some serious help moving forward. It's a very safe start for DD Dota, but I mean, for London Conspiracy, they just have 2 laning powerhouses, and there's no 2 ways about it. DD are going to have to pick up the slack really hard within their next couple picks if they want to actually shut these heroes down. Though with an Ogre Magi opening, if they pick up a Scarith Mage next, something like that, then they could certainly rotate around and kind of abuse the fact that these heroes, though they do get tanky, they don't start out tanky.
Right. And certainly wise ban here from LC. They're going to want to be in your face, pushing into your towers with this Viper DP duo core so far. and they'll remove the Tide Hunter, who obviously does synergize well with the Death Coil, Dream Coil, I should say, excuse me, and the Ravage is pretty good versus this lineup that's going to want to convene at your towers and ball up, converge on heroes with the exorcism, as well as that slow from the Viper Strike. So a nice ban from them. Earthshaker and Axe going to be the bans from DD here. What are your thoughts on the Axe ban?
Well, 99 times out of 100, Axe is not going to be banned. As far as protecting your heroes against an Axe, I suppose this could mean that an Abaddon is incoming from DD. Maybe they want to go for a Broodmother that was banned out last game, which would actually make a decent amount of sense given the Earthshaker ban as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that. Other heroes, maybe they want to try picking up maybe a Visage, as Counter Helix is pretty devastating there.
Right.
Maybe a Dazzle, but I don't know. Usually you could play around the Axe decently unless you go for someone like the Brood. So on the Conspiracy, they're not going to ban that one out. I think this is the safer ban, taking out the Skywrath Mage. Broodmother maybe is going to get enough traction in this game, but haven't seen her in her newest form in order to get a good read on how powerful she is.
Not sure that she does extremely well up against the Viper, and the DP does have quite a bit of move speed to outrun the Spiderlings, so I don't know how good the Broodmother would be here, but as you mentioned, they're going to need some help for this puck here, so definitely could look at a Blink Initiation hero as well that they do not want the Axe to disrupt, so will be interesting to see what they couple with this puck. Ogre Magi opening. Ancient Apparition is going to be the pickup from LC. Interesting enough, Shatter does synergize pretty well with the Exorcism. It is able to bring heroes pretty low. Of course, the Dot toolkit from Viper as well, able to tick those heroes down. So interesting support pickup, is pretty strong in lane with the presence of the Chilling Touch, and we have seen Ice Vortex be leveled up quite a bit in the recent meta. That does synergize well with the Crypt Swarm spam, but other than that, I don't see any other immediate synergy. It is some counter push, which will help out certainly versus this Jakiro pickup from DD with the Ice Blast there, but we'll see what DD chooses to run this Jakiro in. Do you feel that it'll be a core Jakiro?
I feel like if you're going to be picking up like this, it should be a core unless you see a reason to go otherwise, and really having a hero that can fight early is going to be pretty beneficial for them. The Ancient Apparition, I think, is more of a block pick towards DD, as Ogre Ancient Apparition is such a deadly combination, and AA works pretty decently with a Viper and Death Prophet as well. 2 ranged heroes and Chilling Touch, and you're golden. Now with Sand King as well, you get a little bit of extra cold feet value in your ability to potentially slow them down enough so that they could be frozen in place. So London Conspiracy have an okay roaming comp, and will DD have a pretty okay roaming comp as well as far as the supports are concerned. So I think overall the support cast is relatively even until we have a Drow Ranger being picked up. Not exactly the best game versus Drow Ranger, but not exactly the worst either. This is going to obviously prompt the Visage ban. That was pretty clear from London Conspiracy, but Drow Ranger is going to have to worry a lot once Death Prophet gets her Yule Scepter, and or once Sand King gets his Blink Dagger.
Certainly what I was worried about for the Drow is that Yule Scepter, pretty core item on the DP, usually doesn't come out past 13 minutes or so, something around that. And the Drow's going to be hard pressed. She's going to definitely rely on some counter initiation from the puck, as well as the Ice Path from the Jakiro to keep her alive after that Yule Scepter there. Of course, they also have the Viper Strike to close the distance, as well as the Burrow Strike and the slows offered by the AA. So as you mentioned, not the best game for a Drow here, but if she's able to, or if her team is able to provide some counter initiation, she should be able to survive for a decently long time in these team fights. However, she may be within the marksmanship range, so not adding the agility damage there. And of course, they pick up the Void here to round out the lineup for LC, so another way to leap in towards that Drow Ranger, who's going to be extremely weak versus Void and the Chronosphere here. They do have some toolkits from outside the Chronosphere, so they do have the Fire Blast as well as the Ice Path to delay things, but a good Void player within the Chronosphere with all that extra MS can dodge definitely the Ice Path. Of course, can't dodge the single target ability from the Ogre, but certainly do worry for this Drow Ranger. And they'll round out the lineup with the Venge, so as you mentioned, it will be a core Jakiro here. So going to be interesting to see how early they can make this Drow Ranger effective. Baby Knight going to pick that up, presumably for the mid lane, so we may see a safe lane puck solo here with the aggressive tri-lane of Jakiro, Vengeful, Ogre, which is pretty strong in its own right.
Yeah, could get quite a bit done, and really where London Conspiracy have to be the most worried in this game is just the lanes. I mean, you're going up against quite a few ranged heroes, first of all, and the only melee hero on the other end is an absolute powerhouse tank in the Ogre Magi, so if the lanes go poorly for London Conspiracy, then I could see the entire rest of the game just falling apart for them. But if they somehow dodge the really dangerous lanes, if they do okay in all their lanes, then I think the raw power level of their heroes, the tankiness, the initiation, should pull them through quite a bit. That being said, I typically do underestimate how much damage the Drow Ranger aura is able to put out, so maybe I'm once again doing that. But either way, we are in the game. This is game 2, and we're loading out into their lanes. On the London Conspiracy side, it's going to be the Ancient Apparition being handled by Skanks. Keezer is going to be on the Viper with Relax on the Death Prophet. Madra is going to be playing the Faceless Void, and Sista Spartan is going to be on the Sand King. Right now, all smoked up, so they're looking for blood.
Yeah, 5-man smoke rotation from them on the side of Team DD Dota. We do have Rise playing up on the Ogre Magi in the offlane, accompanied by Ace on the Jakiro in the mid lane. Bland playing on that puck, so perhaps just a more comfortable hero for him than it is for Baby Knight, who's picking up the Drow Ranger and is going to be accompanied currently by Crit on the Vengeful Spirit. 5-man smoke rotation from LC, however, and they've got Majara in the front lines. He hasn't skilled quite yet, but his smoke is popped, so he does know there are heroes present around the corner, and they will ball up behind the tree line here and look to wrap and perhaps find Crit, who is positioned pretty safely and will be able to retreat towards his tower if need be. So smoke rotation gonna fail early on from LC, but not gonna hamper their early game very much. Just a smoke committed for that. No damage and no awkward skill builds required for that one. So
and I mean, they didn't ward that much, now placing an Observer ward, so they will have that going for them. Maybe DD are going to think that their pull camp is blocked, but they'll very quickly realize that that is not the case. Yeah, I mean, when you have an Ancient Apparition, you could probably afford to go for that and not really get punished that much, since he was going to guarantee you almost 100% of the time wins in those level 1 jungle engagements, so it's not really going to cost them that much. The lanes looks like it is going to be a defensive tri-lane involving the Viper with the Faceless Void being thrown to the Wolves and a Vengeful Spirit Drow Ranger lane. These two heroes are going to absolutely destroy the Faceless Void. Though he does have a lot of regeneration, he's very quickly going to lose all of it.
Yeah, and I feel like the defensive capabilities from Ace and Rise in the offlane should be enough to stave off or dissuade any aggression from this aggressive try. They will take some Chilling Touch, right clicks, and certainly some harass, but I don't think there's too much kill potential for the side of LC if DD is pretty disciplined in this lane.
Alright, so we got that going on. We have the bottom lane where we have a 2 versus 3. The one Jakiro and Ogre Magi is actually not too terrible. Like, they can certainly get kills if they catch someone off guard, like they're doing right now in Skanks, opening up with an Ignite, a couple of right clicks as well. Keezer with only 1 poison attack can't really do too much. Ancient Apparition getting way too ahead over himself, and he will barely slip out, but he's not tangoing through, or not walking through. He's walking awkwardly, shuffling back and forth. Now hit with another Dual Breath will be fine. Here comes Spartan with a Burst Strike, but there's way too much damage, and taking this on Rise, force the Burst Strike out defensively. These two intelligence heroes are two of the more tanky intelligence heroes in the game. They're certainly showing it off right now, charging forward without much regard for their own safety, and they're not taking that much damage. So LC, they really have to tighten up the screws in this bottom lane. Eventually, the Viper is going to get to a level where he doesn't really care about any of this, and he's going to be fine just by himself, but that is still a couple of levels away.
Yeah, no points in the Corrosive Skin just yet, of course. He isn't the most ideal target. Either way, Majara in the off lane, gonna get picked off here by Crit and Baby Knight. So as you mentioned, there are a lot of kill potential in this top lane. And surprisingly enough, Ace and Rise doing very well thus far with that level 1 Ignite and Boots first Ogre Magi. So Boots first paying dividends thus far. He's picked up a double damage. Not sure if he's going to be able to utilize that. Bounty Rune going to be picked up by Crit. He's claritying up at the moment, so we'll have a Magic Missile fairly soon. Perhaps looking for a Courier pickoff here, but he's not going to find it. He will run into Spartan, though, and we'll have to back off promptly thereafter. Bland farming pretty well. 10-2 is his CS up against the 12-4 of Relax on the Death Prophet at this point. They may have scouted Crit out of lane. Madara is playing pretty aggressive in this off lane currently, finding some last hits up in the wave's face. So Crit does rotate back over to the top lane, though. He is in the tree line here, so he may be able to run into Majara here. He does. He won't commit a magic missile just yet, as Baby Knight on the Drow Ranger is pretty out of position to look to re-engage with him.
Alright, so Madara going to get a little bit of something up on top lane, not too much, and probably putting himself in unnecessary amounts of danger in order to get those last hits. So he's got to be very careful, as Baby Knight is going to go for a Frost Arrow heavy build. So, you know, if Faceless Void gets a little bit too close, then he's probably not going to die 100% to Baby Knight, but he's going to take a hell of a lot of damage, as we see right now, taking, what, 4 or 5 arrow shots for absolutely free. Drow Ranger is going to be able to do that for pretty much the rest of the game, and it's only a matter of time before she hits level 6. Marksmanship is going to make it so that, while still getting the kill on the Faceless Void is not possible by herself, it's a lot easier to put a little bit more damage on him. We see Spartan down towards bottom, getting hit with Fire Blast and some Dual Breath action. Sandstorm very quickly, but it's not going to do too much. Trying to turn around for a Burrow Strike, but it's only a level 1 skill, and level 1 Burrow Strike really sucks. They're going to try to zone everyone out with just the Viper by himself, and he's doing a very good job at it. Now we're going to try to go for Rise, taking one too many shots with the Vortex as well, slowing him down. Not quite going to be enough. 28 HP and 100 HP. The bottom lane duo survives from DD, albeit barely. And Viper now completely tapped out of mana. DD, once they regenerate back up to full, they can go again and feel pretty safe in doing so.
Yep, a lot of defensive capability here. Majara taking some harass from Baby Knight in the top lane. Crit won't be able to get over in time, however, with the magic missile. He is well within sight of Madara at this point, so he will back off into the tree line, but the Wave of Terror going to scout him out. They're not going to continue to commit here, and he will make it out and be able to regen up. Looks like Rise has rotated back towards the base to regen up in the fountain. Ace is alone for the time being in lane, but there are not 3 present here. Spartan is towards the mid lane, already looking to stack up for himself. He's getting pretty low, and one ranged attack from a creep could kill him off here. Does have his boots rotating towards the middle lane. He's going to grab up a bottle charge from the Death Prophet, and everything going to be pretty stagnant for this moment. Rise is postured up on the cliff in the mid lane, perhaps looking to find a kill with the help of Bland, but Death Prophet not pushed too forward at this time. The creep equilibrium is slightly towards his side of the map. Madara going to be harassing out Crit here up in his face, knowing that Baby Knight is farming the wave underneath the tower, but we'll back off probably there. A smoke rotation in the mid. Rise is available here, and Bland will use the phase shift to bait out a little bit of aggression from Relax, but it looks like Rise will back off for the time being and rotate towards the top lane, where Majara is in imminent danger. He does have level 2 Time Walk, so he is able to get out unless they chain these abilities very well, which is very possible. He's only sitting at 400 health. Here they come. Fire Blast to start. Magic Missile going to follow. Easy kill in the off lane for DD. Baby Knight going to find that, and 2-0 is your score 6 minutes into the game for DD.
It's not the kill that Rise really expected to have happen, but when you have an opportunity like that, you don't pass it up. He has gone for one of the more aggressive builds that you could possibly go for as Ogre Magi, with both Boots and the Orb of Venom. The Orb of Venom wasn't really relevant there. It is going to signify that Rise is going to look to roam around the map pretty much by himself and look for those types of opportunities, and if he has any sort of help at all, then it's very possible for him to get those kills pretty much on anyone right now. Maybe Death Prophet is going to be safe, maybe Viper is going to be safe, but you know, as Rise gets more and more rotations, feeding off Madra certainly going to help out in that. He's going to be fine. Over towards bottom lane, they're going to engage onto Ace. Lots of minus attack speed onto Keezer. Can't get any poison attacks off, though he does get one. With the Vortex, he will get another. It will be a kill for Viper down towards bottom, but man, Liquid Fire, Dual Breath, and then having the Chilling Touch on you. He's hitting like Tiny at this point, except just not as hard. It is going to be London Conspiracy getting on the board, and getting on the board with a pretty nice hero kill on a pretty important target.
Yeah, perhaps Ace thought that the supports were absent from lane. He actually rotated around these trees here and looked to solo up that Viper. He's going to TP back into lane now. He does have his Tranquils up, and as you mentioned, one of the higher base strength intelligence heroes in the game, so if he doesn't get overly aggressive as he did in that instance, he should be just fine to find his farm in this lane. Meanwhile, the tier 1 eliminated from the top lane for the side of DD, so they will take that down, and Macropyre going to be committed bottom lane. Again, Ace going to go down, but Looks like Kaiser will survive with less than 40 HP at this point. The rotation's over from Rise, just a smidgen too late. So another nice kill for the Viper. That's 2 back on the board for LC. Score is tied 2-2, 8 minutes into the game. Spartan gonna run into Rise in the river here, and looks like Spartan will pick up that bounty rune. He's trying to save it for his Death Prophet, and he will secure it. So fresh bottle here for Relax. And things pretty stagnant at this point. Baby Knight farming well, 49 CS, tied up with Bland above the Death Prophet. Does have Treads, Aquila, and 1300 gold. What do you expect the build to be here from Baby Knight?
So Baby Knight does have quite a bit of flexibility in this game. It doesn't really look like that he has to go for this massive Wraith Band build, as normally sometimes Draw Rangers like to go for if their intention is to end the game early. It could be an option, but I would rather like to see him go for a little bit more of a mid-gamey kind of build up a Yasha and skip the Wraith Bands altogether. He's actually going to be roaming around now with Crit, and this is going to be at the very least a surprise for London Conspiracy, since you never expected Drow Ranger to appear out of a smoke right on top of you. But no, it's instead going to be Roshan. They do have level 3 Wave of Terror, so that's quite a bit of minus armor plus a medallion. But with just these 2 heroes, if they're spotted out at all, they can very quickly be punished. But it seems like London Conspiracy don't know about this just yet, and they might not ever realize that this is going on. Yeah, the rune isn't even going to be spawning for another 45 seconds, so this might be really safe. In the meantime, bottom lane, they're going to initiate Viper Strike, already being committed onto Ace with a level 3 Burrow Strike flying through as well. Ace is going to take a fall, 3rd time in this game. It's going to be Keezer to draw that kill once again. Viper Strike doing some pretty nice work for him, but it's going to be a trade for DD, since it was just buying time and space for Roshan, which is now down, and Baby Knight has another life.
Yep, very cheeky play from them, and they'll use Rise as well as Ace to cover their tracks, getting a little bit aggressive in that bottom lane there. Interesting to see the 2nd level in Dual Breath come out here from Ace. He has no points in Ice Path, albeit it's only a 1-second duration at level 1, but I feel like perhaps they could have covered their retreat a couple of times with that Ice Path thus far, but he does go for the little bit more aggressive build with the 2nd point in Dual Breath.
And it's usually the build that we see from Jakiro's going towards the mid lane, just wanting that dual breath for control. And oh, hold on, mid lane is going to be relaxing. It jumped on Coil and Orb through. Puck pretty much doing that one just by himself. Of course, plus 21 damage from the Drow Ranger aura certainly helps in those kind of ganks. It's going to be DD to take not only that kill, but probably this tower following as well. And there's no one from London Conspiracy here to defend. Maybe Madro's going to make a rotation in with the Chronosphere, but it's not going to be in time. Tower's going to fall, and here comes the blast, which is going to land onto Crit, but still not enough follow-up right now, and it's going to be, oh, this could be bad. DD finding the stack of the Sand King. They don't have the best heroes to clear this out without Jakiro, but if they do, then Sand King is going to be not slowed down by too much, actually. He has his Blink Dagger already, so never mind.
He actually just did pick it up simultaneously as they spotted it out, so good timing for him, 11 minutes, especially considering that he had to rotate around quite a bit to stay in that lane as well as in mid lane. But the Courier going to be picked off here, and did have 750 on it. Not sure exactly what that was.
It was Buckler, and that's it. It's only a Buckler. It's not a big deal.
So I guess building towards the mechanism there. Bland going to run into Relax in the jungle. Crit is ready here. There's a blink forward from Bland, but he's going to have to back off probably thereafter. He'll actually Rift and Phase jaunt up the hill. Meanwhile, they're going to catch out Crit, who does put a glancing blow with a magic missile into Majara as he dies, but regardless, going to be dropped here. And in the meantime, Bland going to be found out. Nice rotation over by Kaiser. He's going to get Viper struck and brought down. Nice 2 for 0 going the way of LC here. Meanwhile, it looks like they want to trade this bottom lane tier 1, but Ice Blast going to connect onto 3 here in the bot lane. Does connect onto Rise as well on the way through, and it looks like they will back off in light of that. Looks like Shadow Blade's going to be the pickup here from Baby Knight. Interesting pickup. Often we see the positioning tool of the Blink Dagger used for the mobility. Shadow Blade, a little bit of a throwback on the Drow Ranger, but I don't mind the pickup with the lead in terms of CS that Baby Knight has. He's currently sitting at 6k net worth, which is about a 1k higher than the first or the highest target on LC.
You can get away with quite a bit when you are that much ahead. That being said, Shadow Blade up against someone like the Faceless Void is going to be pretty bad, and up against a Blinking Sand King also pretty terrible. And speaking of Faceless Void, he's going to jump in straight with Ace and help Spartan. He's going to bring down the Jakiro, and now also going for Rise, who's also going to take a very swift fall using the level 1 Exorcism. Is not going to help them get those kills, but they didn't really need it anyway. It's going to be used mainly for this tower destruction. A very clean engagement from LC. However, Bland is on the side. He's looking for initiation. Will miss completely. Silence as Spartan jukes it. Whether intentionally or not, Bland is going to jump in and get killed off. That was a beautiful move by Spartan, trying to get the jump on Puck, ended up dodging the silence, then gets the jump on him anyway. In the meantime, top lane Viper does go down to the mix of Drow Ranger and Venge. However, here comes Madra with a time walk and a first hit bash on a crit, because that's always how it goes. Faceless Void is going to get that retaliation kill, making it a tower and a couple more kills going the way of LC. Baby Knight still invisible, is going to open up into Madra with that huge plus damage from that Shadow Blade, is going to catch the Faceless Void off guard and get the kill, and then very quickly TP out from under that situation. It's going to be Baby Knight getting some pretty nice usage of his Shadow Blade, and well, that's really good. The only real time you get value out of your Shadow Blade is within the first 5-ish minutes of picking it up.
And
past that, the enemies pick up some True Sight, and then they can't do anything.
Definitely. And the Chronosphere, as you mentioned, obviously does well against that Shadow Blade. A nice 1,000 experience bounty going Baby Knight. Good on him to know his limits with the use of that Gust and the level 1 backtrack. Just not enough for Majar's Faceless Void at this point. Looks like the tier 1 will be aggressed upon by Ace in the bot lane. He's got Rise here, but he will be scouted out by the AA Blast. So they know he is waiting in the wings to defend his Jakiro. And Kaiser going to feel pretty tanky with this level 4 Corrosive Skin, walking right up to the wave. And he ain't worried about nothing with this mech up. So he does have his AA rotating in, as well as Majara. 20 seconds left on the cooldown of Chronosphere. Jump in though, crit. Gonna find the AA with the Fire Blast. Ice Path hits from long range, but he'll get mech'd up, and he should be just fine for now. One more right click from the tree line. Gonna finish him off from crit. Crit will be the trade though. Epicenter gonna finish off Bland as well, and crit running to his death. He will get finished off by the creep wave, however, so will deny up a bit of gold from Majar's Faceless Void. Either way, 2 for 1 in the bottom lane. Core, Puck, and your Vengeful Spirit going down for just an Ancient Apparition, who is the lowest on the net worth chart right now. So very good trade for LC. They also
top lane, it's going to be Relax, being chased down by Baby Knight. Pops the Exorcism for some reason. I don't really know what the plan was there, and then a Chronosphere missed. Those are like the worst ultimates I've ever seen in my entire
Ice
life.
Blast though, gonna hit on Baby Knight.
He's going to be brought down in a hurry as well. Baby Knight getting some real Shadow Blade value now. Isn't even going to shatter from this. Pulling out 2 ultimates, you never expect that to happen. And we can see the drawing on the map. London Conspiracy are not happy with how that went.
Perhaps a little bit of lag. So Crit is having some packet loss apparently.
Oh.
It would have been more understandable if the Void was having some packet loss at that moment. Either way, very nice kill for Baby Knight. He'll pick up his Yasha in the meantime. Treads Aquila Shadowblade Yasha 15 minutes into the game. 5-0-1 and 8,500 net worth for this Drow Ranger. Certainly something that LC needs to be worried about. However, they do have a lot of tools to deal with this Drow going into the mid game. The Yules is now picked up for the Death Prophet.
Yeah, but she even had that when she was engaging Baby Knight first, but even if you do throw the Drow Ranger up into the air, she's still hitting like an absolute truck for 260 a pop, which is pretty good for 15 minutes into the game. And after the Yule Scepter, if you don't immediately have your Exorcism up and available by the time the target lands, then you're just not going to get that kill. You just don't have enough to duel the Drow Ranger. You won't be able to Crypt Storm Kite, just because eventually the Drow Ranger is going to catch up to you with the Shadow Blade and the Yasha. So she really needs some serious help, and ideally that help will be a Chronosphere that lands.
Right.
But when you have 50% packet loss, I don't blame anyone from LC for messing up their ultimates there, but still, they used their ultimates and they got killed in the end. Like, that's the end result. And lag, as unfortunate as it may be, it's going to be favoring DT more so than it's going to be favoring London Conspiracy.
It certainly will, and the Drow is pretty tanking, sitting at 18 armor with her items, as well as 1,100 health with those treads on strength. So She's not the easiest Chronosphere kill target with as long as either the Jakiro or the Ogre Magi are out of the Chronosphere. And of course they have the trump card that is the swap from the Vengeful Spirit as well. So these Chronos are going to have to be really well placed in order for them to kill the Drow Ranger off.
Yeah, and it's usually not too difficult because, I mean, it's just one hero and you have Time Walk, but assuming EU West gets its act together, then we probably will be seeing that a little bit down the line. Even if the Faceless Void botches his Chronosphere again, you can always rely maybe a little bit on the Sand King, assuming, you know, packet loss gets sorted out. Sand King with the Blink Burst Strike can do the job if need be, but you know, for right now, DD holding on to a very, very minor lead in this game, if you could call it a lead at all. Probably the best thing going for them is the fact that they've only lost one tower versus a Death Prophet, which at this point should be two, maybe even looking at a third if LC were truly playing this aggressively. But because the Death Prophet used Exorcism and then died straight after, their pushing is going to be hindered for quite a long time.
Yeah, and certainly the distribution of deaths for DD is very pleasing despite having 8 deaths. They have 5-0-1 Drow Ranger. Most of the deaths are on the Jakiro, and Ace is only a recipe away from his core Yule Scepter, so he will still be pretty effective in this mid lane, or in this mid game I should say, despite being only level 8 at this point. He does have a lot of ways to deal with that Faceless Void in the Chrono if he is external to it with the Ice Path as well as the Yules. So he's going to also offer some initiation as soon as he grabs that recipe up, which is not far off at this point.
And he has 48 damage also from Precision Aura, which is going to make all these usually pseudo-irrelevant right-clickers of DD very, very relevant in this game. Usually it's just Akira, you know, throw Liquid Fire wherever you can, whenever you can, and usually you're happy with that. But those Liquid Fire attacks are going to hurt. Like, it's attacking for 120, and not the most attack speed on the hero for sure, but if you get a couple of those out, then the physical is certainly going to be tough for LC to deal with, as they don't really have that much armor, and it looks like they don't have any armor auras. Now they have a Ring of Aquila, which is okay, but certainly not going to be good enough. Hopefully this packet loss actually ends up subsiding. Well, I mean, I'm at 50%, so that's not good.
Yeah, could perhaps be the servers. Are we running on Luxembourg? I'm not exactly 100% sure at the moment.
I think we were.
What do you expect this Viper to go? I feel like the Aghanims does work very well with the Death Prophet, and it does give him that range to drop a Viper Strike outside of the Chrono, but I feel like they may need a little bit more damage out of this Viper than he currently outputs.
I don't really think they need that much damage, since, you know, on paper they will have the Chilling Touch to make everyone hit very, very hard, so that's going to carry you through for at least another 10 minutes. The Death Prophet, in theory, will have Exorcism as well, so really, LC, they're not at a lack of physical damage right now. They're just missing the necessary control to actually hit the DD side, since if they land a Chronosphere, it's all over for DD. Like, their Jakiro, their Ogre Magi are tanky heroes, but no one else can really survive that, with the exception of potentially a swap from the Vengeful Spirit being able to help out. So I think going for Aghanims is probably going to be the best build. I mean, the alternative would be you go for something like a Mantis style, which is fine, but it's not going to be that impressive. Maybe a BKB first wouldn't be terrible either, but look at all this physical damage from DD. That's probably not going to fly either.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, that Chilling Touch is going to carry them through. It has been maxed out here, so interesting choice by Skanks. He's got a level 4 Chilling Touch already here, 15 minutes into the game. Spartan still farming up the jungle. He's got his Arcane Boots and his Blink, though, so not really needing much else aside from that level 11 for the level 2 Epicenter there. We'll see how this game continues to play out. Rise has picked up his urn here, so...
I love this banter, man.
Malaka's actually Greek. Interesting.
It's like, oh, okay, the packet loss is gone. Go, go, go. What does Malaka mean? Just curious, guys. Okay, well, the packet loss is gone. I'm at 0, and I'm 0 as well. So maybe Steam sales not confirmed after all, but we'll be getting this game going in just a little bit, as, of course, someone is going to go AFK, because that's what you do. They don't care. They're just going to go AFK whenever they can.
Certainly so. We have any other item progression? It doesn't seem as so. Yule Scepter, just a bottle, no talisman for Relax. And everyone else pretty much stagnant. The medallion picked up quite a while ago for crit. So they do have the urn up on Rise. But we will get back underway, guys. Game 2 of a best of 3. As you see at the top screen, LC taking game 1 here. And looking decent at this point. Metrics are about even. But Baby Knight is pretty fat on his Drow Ranger at this point. 8,500 net worth, 2k above both the Viper and Death Prophet.
So as the Drow Ranger gets more and more items, it's going to be more and more important for Crit to maintain his positioning as the Vengeful Spirit. Because LC has so many tools at dealing with his Drow Ranger, you need a swap in order to deal with that. And Drow Ranger, I mean, you can try to build a little bit of survivability here and there. Sanjin Yasha isn't completely a bad item on the hero, but usually if you're going to be aggressed upon, you're going to go down. It's as simple as that. They're going to very quickly wreck this tower, and Kiro is going to take that one down, but yeah, for DD, they're putting a lot of their eggs into this Drow Ranger basket, and usually when you do this, you have someone like a Razor or a Viper or a Tidehunter in order to give the Drow Ranger a little bit more space. Right now, DD don't really have that bulky frontline hero. They have Ogre, which is fine, but certainly not good enough, so this is going to be a very delicate game for DD, as it normally is whenever you pick up a Drow Ranger.
Yeah, and definitely Ogre not going to garner as much as tension as a Tidehunter or a Razor, the other two heroes you mentioned. But in the meantime, Yule Scepter is going to be picked up here. Bland is going to jaunt backwards, but he's going to hit it with a Blink Burrow Strike here, and the Mask of Madness should be enough to finish him off without committing the Chrono. So very efficient play there from Majara. The Sandstorm going to cancel any potential to blink away, which was already on cooldown regardless. In the jungle, Crit may be caught out here, but it looks like he'll back off into the fog before being spotted out. So 1-0 across the map. Bland going down, not doing extremely well on this puck, but he is keeping up in farm. He does have his blink as well as treads at this point, so has his core items for now, perhaps building into a Yules of his own. Very good item on puck.
Well, top lane, Jakiro is going to be teleporting right into a Faceless Void Death Prophet combo. Got to be so careful about doing that. Even though you may have a Yule Scepter, it's very easy to work around that. Bottom lane, at the same time, we see an engagement. Skank's going to be jumped by 2 invisible heroes and killed off in an instant. My god, he was even going out to place a sentry ward so that an ally wouldn't be caught by that. And then they're going to find Sand King as well. It's going to be a double kill as DD just make a rampage through the enemy jungle. So it's going to be pretty nice 2 picks for DD. And now they're thinking about going for Roshan, however, it's not quite up yet. It's going to be Madara as well as Relax to be potentially in a little bit more trouble. No, there is Vision here for DD, but they're not going to jump the gun just yet. They have to worry about this Chronosphere, and you always have to respect that skill.
Yep, unfortunately for Baby Knight, Roshan was not up for about a minute, so we'll be up in about 20 seconds. Looks like Crit may scout this out. It is not near the maximum spawn time. It's about 2 minutes away, so they do know perhaps that he will be up sometime soon. Around 15 seconds from now, will be up. Ace is going to be spotted on the top lane. He'll drop an Ice Path and retreat, however, and Time Walk going to be a little short unless they get the Blink Burrow from Spartan. He's going to pop the enemy's Epicenter as well. It'll get dodged by the Yules, but it'll only delay the inevitable. And Ace will go down here. Meanwhile, Crit does scout out the Roshan, so Baby Knight probably going to rotate over fairly soon. He's picked up a Manta style as well as the Shadow Blade and Treads 19 minutes into the game, so this Drow Ranger looking pretty scary. Couple more ways to deal with perhaps the Death Prophet Silence or a Cold Feet proc, but doesn't offer too much. He can dodge the Viper Strike if played very well, but looks like they will find this level 2 Roshan with relative ease here. It's going to absolutely melt to the Wave of Terror as well as the Medallion from Crit.
May the Drow.
There's not much that LC could do about this. Now they're going to find out about this with Ice Blast, but it's way too late. They do take down a tower on the top lane, and they do still have Exorcism, so maybe they're going to want to go for a little bit more. In fact, they should be going for a little bit more since they have a Chronosphere as well. Do they have True Sight? They have 1 Sentry. That might not actually be enough unless they get the jump onto Drow Ranger. There it is. Blink Burrow Strike onto Baby Knight, silencing him as well. Sentry gets dropped. Baby Knight's just going to turn around and wail into Spartan and will not actually get the kill. Baby Knight's going to survive for a little while longer as here comes a Chronosphere. Will land onto 2. Madara, though, is being held up by an Ice Path, and he can't really commit. There it is. Onto Ace now, but there's not enough damage right now. Blink Burrow Strike once again in from Spartan will pick off the Aegis of the Drow Ranger as Death Prophet thrown up into the air. Will continue to do damage with that ultimate. Now onto Crit. It's going to be Kaiser coming out from the side with a double kill, but Baby Knight is still alive, going to claim himself a godlike streak. Now going on to Kaiser, going to gust to get himself that extra marksmanship bonus, and he will bring down the Viper, or Bland is going to take the Viper kill instead. Excuse me, LC walk away with a 2-for-4 trade. Yes, they do pick off the Aegis, but that Chronosphere was not lined up properly, and the Viper coming in a little bit too late. These small things, you have to play around that so well if you're going to be LC going up against such a stacked Drow Ranger.
Yeah, definitely not able to corral that Drow Ranger into the Chronosphere was a big misplay, and as I had mentioned a couple times before, a lot of ways to deal with that. The Ice Path did latch early on, and that certainly helped them delay or mitigate any damage coming from that. And as you mentioned, Kaiser initiating probably a little too late, perhaps looking to sound the retreat of his Ancient Apparition there, but just pays with it for his life, and there really was no kill potential on that Drow, who's sitting around 70% HP at the time, with support from 2 of his allies. So Ace, Rise, and Crit gonna smoke up here. Shadowblade as well as committed. Ice Blast not gonna scout anyone out, but the smoke is popped from the high ground from Spartan. So they do know that there are heroes nearby, but they actually choose the south path, and they will find out the Death Prophet here. So with the Yules, Ice Path to follow as well as the Gust. Gonna overlap those a bit. Defensive Yules used, but not really gonna matter. She's gonna Ghost Scepter, get hit with a Fire Blast, but Jump in Epicenter is gonna finish off Bland here. So nice return kill from Spartan. He will pay with his life, but certainly worth giving up his life, knowing that the Death Prophet was already gonna die to bring down Baby Knight there.
Maybe LC can draw this fight out and try to bait for a little bit more, because they have a Faceless Void off to the side who's going the wrong way. Faceless Void, get back here. You're needed on the front lines. Ace is being chased down by the Viper, looking for a TP out. Maybe Jakiro can throw the Ancient Apparition up into the air, but this Viper strike damage a little bit too much. Ace is going to be brought down. It will be at the trade of the AA, though. Here comes Madra finally. Is going to use his Chronosphere, but Keezer gets swapped into the Chronosphere. Crit is going to be just fine. Going to pick up his Blink Dagger. What a swap from Crit. I think he saw that one coming and made the correct play. It doesn't get any better than that if you're a Vengeful Spirit. It literally does not get any better than that. And LC, I mean, they get a trade after the trade that didn't benefit them. So I guess that secondary trade was fine. But still, Chronosphere now down. And the Vengeful Spirit now with a very dangerous item in the Blink Dagger, ensuring she's going to get a swap on the Drow. Not like she really needs it.
Yep, the 1-1, the Jakiro for the Ancient Apparition there. So really nothing doing, and a beautiful reaction by Crit, swap out. And poor Madara has not had a good Chronosphere thus far in the game. So that still is the trump card for them. If they find one, they should win that engagement. But all the meanwhile, Baby Knight continuing to farm, has picked up a Mithril Hammers, presumably going into a BKB here. Doesn't really need the damage from a Desolator, and that'll make him a lot more survivable if he continues to dodge these Chronos. Either him or Crit are not present in the Chrono. Should spell survival for the Straw Ranger.
Really, that's the name of the game for DD. Operation Make Sure Baby Knight Doesn't Die. Spartan looking for a jump in. There is complete vision right now, but Spartan gets silenced and then Yules and then drops into an Ice Path Macropyre. He was spotted out the entire time, and Sand King did not know about that. They're going to chase forward. Rise looking for someone else. Going for the Viper, probably not the best usage of this Ogre's time, but still DD working with now plus 64 damage casually on everyone who's ranged.
No big
They're going to
deal.
pull down this tier 2 tower so easily.
Yep, it's going to melt to the Liquid Fire and the right kicks to the Drow. Ice Spot's going to come in. It looks like it's only going to connect on one, and it actually doesn't even hit Baby Knight. He is on the periphery of that, but it does hit Rise. Baby Knight will pick up the last hit on the tower, and it doesn't look like they're willing to back off at this point. Manta at the ready for Baby Knight. He's just going to siege from the low ground. He's going to drop his illusions up on the high ground. They're doing a lot of work onto this tier 3. Call it chip damage, but it's pretty much dead. Madara going to drop during the gust duration, and he will buy back immediately as he's going to need to for this base defense, but DD going to be content with their spoils there. They get a tier 3 as well as a buyback from the Void, and they're going to mass TP top where they're going to find Relax, who's used up by the Jakiro. Did get the silence off on Ace, but it's going to actually be able to TP out. Very well played there by Relax, and will make it out. However, the deny does get off by Ace. So still well played by DT to deny their tower as well as get the tier 3 in the mid.
I think more importantly, forcing out the buyback of Faceless Void. That buyback literally did nothing for him, and oh no, Spartan caught now in the mid lane, hexed up. He will dodge Ice Path, maybe as a Burrow Strike. No, he doesn't. A little bit too much damage, and Sand King will be picked off over towards mid, and just like that, the push continues. Now for DD, they have a BKB flying out to Baby Knight, and they're actually going to smoke. I feel like this is a little bit unnecessary since you could probably just full on, 5 before the enemy and be fine. It looks like they will agree with me. They're just going to go straight into the enemy base. Jar Ranger, she does not have her aura up for another 20 seconds, so the push isn't as strong as it could be, but backdoor protection be damned. No, they're gonna clear it out and they're gonna play it a little bit fairer. But these Raxes, they need defense like right now. Where's the Void? He needs to be the one to jump in first, but he's gonna get jumped upon instead. Just a casual Hex, a little bit of poking here and there, but the Jar Ranger damage is gonna continue. The DKB up on Baby Knight gets swapped out by Crit, just like he's supposed to do. Venture Spirit's going to give his life. Madra is going to drop. Chronosphere now almost completely wasted. These are still doing some pretty decent damage to Baby Knight, but he's actually losing this duel. Baby Knight is actually coming slightly behind. He will die to the poison damage. Now Ace being focused. Here comes Spartan back from the dead with an Epicenter Burrow Strike onto the Ogre Magi, and Keezer is going to clean up the rest. Ace is going to barely survive. It looks like he will be able to make it out to safety. However, that was still Rax, or the important Rax being taken. Melee down, and DD, they could wait a minute and do the exact same thing again. It really feels like they're in complete control of this game. I don't know where the Sand King is going, but he cannot catch up to that Jakiro. Probably back off now before something bad happens to you.
4K experience swing, 2,500 gold sling going the way of LC, so somewhat of a successful defense, but they lose their melee racks there, which is the big objective and definitely what DD went to claim. However, without the exorcism, pretty good defense from them.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the best that they could hope for. At least their Chronosphere actually landed on someone. They actually had some follow-up to that. They're going to try to go for a crack back in mid lane. The Exorcism is going to come out before the stun. Relax, though, taking quite a bit of damage. Has a Yule Scepter, things get really dangerous, and Rise can be walked down by the Viper. Jump in from Bland, trying to focus down on Death Prophet. Needs to get a Yule Scepter, won't find it in time. Bland taking quite a bit of damage, but will phase shift most of that remaining damage. Might shatter in the end with more poison attacks. Looks like Bland is lethal. Keezer now is in a hell of a lot of trouble. Crit as well as Ace with their plus damage of plus 65, going to bring down that Viper, making it a 2 for 2 over towards the mid lane. But I mean, Death Prophet and Viper, those are the two big heroes that DD have to kill. And look at that, their Drow Ranger is now back up. They can go for more. Instead, they're going to go and look for Skanks. If they catch him with the Yules, he's just dead. And there's the Yules, and now I think he's just dead. Dual Breath, and Jakiro can do this by himself. Although Crit is going to help out a little bit with Magic Missile. Can anyone stop these heroes? Here comes Kaiser with a Blink Dagger to try. His Viper Strike is going to be disjointed, however, and he's not going to be able to continue the chase. Madra a little bit lagging behind as well. And DD, they just take a whole slew of kills on not the most important heroes following, but still, it's going to be them taking win upon win upon win, ultimately landing on a 10k net worth lead, and not as much in the experience, but still doing very well for themselves.
Did he just pick up that Blink Dagger to try and find those kills? I wasn't sure that I saw that pick up any earlier, but either way, buyback forced out and nothing gained from it.
Yeah, I mean, Blink Dagger isn't really the worst item to pick up on Viper. However, I think in this game, I mean, the objective is to get close to the Drow Ranger to turn off her marksmanship. Right. In that regard, Blink Dagger is pretty good, but maybe it's going to, best case scenario, force out a swap early for the Chronosphere to land a little bit down the line. I think it actually isn't a terrible one for this Viper. Yeah, and he does have the Aghanims that synergizes pretty well with it, so he can jump in. And he does have that long range of initiation with the Viper Strike that's provided by the Aghanims. Meanwhile, 9-second BKB is up here for Baby Knight, so he's still very survivable as long as he has that Manta as well, and he does have the Shadow Blade to extricate himself from any engagements. Regardless, he has 2,300 gold still up on him, so he can choose to go for that Demon Hedge perhaps into a Daedalus at this point. And is pretty wealthy on this Drow Ranger, sitting at 16k net worth, 4k above the Viper. Looks like the Roshan dance is going to be the next objective for both teams. And actually, Bland going to be picked off in the top lane to an Epicenter committed by Spartan. He will probably pay with his life here. However, Macropyre going to be committed. He's going to try to burrow in the trees, but will catch a Liquid Fire on the way. And actually may be able to teleport out here. The Liquid Fire didn't land by virtue of that invisibility. So he does have the dual breath, but it's only less than a quarter duration. And he may survive. I think he's fine. Yeah, I think he's fine. Barely. 50 HP. Spartan is actually going to live in the exact same time. They are going to crash the Roshan pit. It's just a pick off on Puck, and this is a Sand King killing off a Puck with a Sheepstick, Blink Dagger, Phase Shift. It must have just been a perfect Burrow Strike Epicenter combination, and man, that is quite a way to use an epicenter. It's totally worth it.
Definitely big pickoff for him, solo killing the puck. They're going to find quite a bit of experience and gold bounty for that one, and perhaps maybe able to build into a Veil of Discord thereafter. Does already have his Force and Blink, so a lot of the core items, and his level 17, so level 3 epicenter. I'm not sure if he had it quite for that engagement. Probably did. I doubt he would get over a level of experience, but puck was sitting at level 16 at the moment, so definitely did find quite a bit from it. Roshan pick going to be scouted out by the Ice Vortex there. And smoke movement from LC. Jump forward. Burrow strike onto Baby Knight. This is the greatest target they could hope for, and the Chrono even going to be committed here. And Crit not in range to find that one. So Baby Knight...
That was such a bad Chronosphere, but it didn't matter. It caught 3 of his allies and Baby Knight. But, I mean, because the Jakiro was on top lane, and now he's going to be engaged upon by Spartan, however, completely missing his Burrow Strike. What the hell was that? First he kills off a puck, and now he misses a Burrow Strike. Maybe there's more lag, but he's going to try to give chase on the Jakiro regardless. In the meantime, Roche Pit Fight is breaking out. It's going to be Rise to take the beating first of all. Buyback from this Drow Ranger, going to now lay into Keezer, doing some pretty decent damage from the high ground, but has to worry about reinforcements because Madra can jump right in. Here comes the Death Prophet as well, turning off that marksmanship. It's still going to be the Ancient Apparition Survive for however long. Base is going to fall soon after, however, and the Drow Ranger is going to die back in this game. Relax is going to run out of extra limit now. He's completely all alone. This Sand King should be here, but unfortunately it's going to be Relaxed, setting the Jakiro up for a free ice path, and it's going to be DD, though losing the Drow Ranger do take a numerically beneficial fight for them. They're going to try to go for Roshan, but I don't know if they have enough damage to do this. It looks like they actually will. They have to worry about this blinking epicenter though. Spartan charging it up. Here he comes. Burrow Strike in, going to land onto 2, going to kill off 1, going to kill off 2, ending a Wicked 6 streak as well. Spartan collecting huge as this Sand King. Going to put him all the way up to 3,400 and deny the Roshan to the DD side. What a play from the Sand King.
Standing up on the cliff, I will not stand for this. The Sand King jumps in, free double kill. And beautiful play by him once again. So paying, I guess, for whiffing that Burrow Strike in the top lane. He's going to go on top with the Ice Blast. Burrow Strike going to connect as well. Sandstorm is there. He will try and blink forward for one last right click, but it looks like Bland should survive through this Ice Blast, and he will not shatter. There is a blink Burrow, but he does blink out at the moment. Rise is going to be here. Spartan going to get a little bit overzealous, and there's a negative earn ticket him down, so he won't be able to blink away. He does Sandstorm for the moment and should be able to get his blink up now. Will Rise predict? It doesn't seem as so, and he will actually survive. Space created by Spartan. The rest of his team gonna get up. There were no buybacks on the core heroes except for Relax's Death Prophet there, so well played by him. In that engagement on the cliff here, they actually chased up the hill to go towards Baby Knight's Drow Ranger, and there was a very nice 3-man coil from Bland there. So if it wasn't for that, LC win that fight convincingly, but regardless, Spartan gonna pick them up in the pit, find a double kill. Baby Knight looking to finish this Roshan off, should be able to do it, and he does. Viper Strike gonna go out onto Rise. Cheese is on the ground, and Ace gonna blink in and pick that up. So nice little pick off for DD there, finding the Roche for Baby Knight.
All it takes is just a couple of seconds in that Roshan pit with that Drow Ranger damage, and Roshan is going to take a fall. I mean, LC, they were making a beeline straight for the Roshan pit. That was the plan, stop Roshan, stop Roshan. But unfortunately, they were just a little bit too late because, well, they are not all moving at max movement speed, which is really what's needed if you're going to be defending Roshan right now. So DD have the Aegis, have the cheese. They have pretty much everything that they could want right now, with the exception of maybe the Ogre Magi Aghanim Scepter, in order to go for a push up this high ground, but they probably should just go for it anyway. At the very least, there's a tier 2 that is pretty much just a free bag of gold. LC, they're not going to defend this, so you might as well take that one, then try to go for high ground push. I don't know. LC, they're going to need a miraculous epicenter right now if they're going to want to defend, and even then, I mean, there's an Aegis on Drow.
Yep, and the way Spartan's been playing, that certainly is possible, but as you mentioned, 2 lives on the Drow Ranger. She's going to stand in the front lines as the battering ram, and they shouldn't have any trouble doing that with the Manta and the 8-second BKB up. She should be just fine, and we're going to see LC actually push out the top lane. Eul's Scepter is the pickup here for Spartan, so he's found another item by virtue of all those kills he's just grabbed. And Baby Knight just going to stand on the high ground, bloodlusted up, And easy tier 3 for him. Gonna try and dodge the Viper Strike. Not gonna be successful. Gonna get hit with the Ice Blast as well. Mantas will try and bring down the tier 3, but it looks like Baby Knight gonna have to back off for the time being. And they're gonna even TP out Ace. Chrono gonna whiff once again. And there's gotta be ping issues here.
Well, top lane Relax is trying to race the DD side, which is awfully bold. He's suddenly up against 3 heroes, coiled up, gonna try to TP. That's not gonna work. I don't know what he was thinking there, but it is going to be DD taking a little bit of damage on the tier 3. They are all forced to fall back, so I guess in that regard, Death Prophet, her play was a successful one, but Exorcism and Chronosphere once again not being used for that much, and DD, they're still in control of the